Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sean and today I am doing a December writing update video. I have actually filmed two other writing update videos for October and November, but I wound up deleting them just because I thought no one would really be interested in them. But this time I have something pretty notable to say, and that is after 5 months of working on it, I finally finished the second draft of Keeping Fire. Yay me! So, woohoo! Anyway, to recap everything, in August when I posted my writing update video, I was around 30,000 words into the second draft. The first draft was 56,000 words. My target goal was about 125 or 126,000. One of the things I was struggling with in August was how to present Eve's storyline. Eve is a Nigerian schoolgirl who gets kidnapped by this terrorist group, Boko Haram, inspired by real events. And I was just having great trouble figuring out how to present her scenes because they're so dark. I mean, she's being assaulted and everything, so I was just struggling with how to write that in a way that doesn't feel exploitative or anything. How do I not turn off readers? How do I give enough description to let readers know what's going on, but not make them disgusted and want to get rid of the book or whatever? So in September, I made almost no progress at all, really. I think I wrote about 250 words, and it didn't have anything to do with Eve's storyline. However, what I did at the end of September was I outlined all of Eve's storyline because that's what I was really struggling with. So I just outlined everything that happens for Eve in Act 1. What I wound up doing in October is I reorganized and rewrote the whole book really multiple times. Since I had this outline finally of Eve's storyline, I was trying to make the book work with that. So things have to happen in a certain order, like things have to happen for her on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever. So I'd have to figure out what is going on with Sam and Tessa on those days. Something I had to be very cautious about is that I did not get ahead of myself. For instance, it being Friday in Nigeria, but already being Monday in Washington, D.C., because I'm already up to there on Sam and Tessa's scenes, while for Eve it's still Friday in the book. So because of that, I had to rewrite and reorder the book's chapters multiple times, probably 3 or 4 times. I mean, I'd get like 10, 12 chapters in and I'd realize like, oh wait, no, this wouldn't work, or I'd find a better way to do it. So I'd have to go back and redo everything. 3 or 4 times I did that. Usually I do not rewrite books as I go. That is something I was doing with German Derelict, the first Trevor Knight book, is editing as I go. And that was the worst mistake I ever made. I hate that book to this day because, anyway, I don't want to get into it now, but basically I just do not edit as I go except for the Samuel Creed series. And the reason I do it is because the Samuel Creed series is really difficult to manage all the different emotions and the different storylines. The Samuel Creed series has different storylines, like about terrorism, romance, family, and also like lighthearted funny scenes. So it's a great challenge, birds, to try to figure out how to write all these different scenes and have them be consistent and not ruin the immersion. For instance, how to go from like terrorism scenes to lighthearted funny scenes or romance scenes or whatever without destroying the reader's immersion into the story. It's really a difficult challenge to try to manage all that because you just don't want readers to try to go from a terrorism scene to a romance scene. They won't be in the mood. They'll still be pretty shocked or whatever from the terrorism scene. They'll still be tense about that. So it's a really great challenge to try to work all of these different emotions, all these different storylines and different characters, all of whom have different things going on in their lives that I want to cover. For instance, like marriage or babies or terrorism or whatever, Eve being assaulted, or Rose scenes. My favorite character, Rose Creed, she is always like real funny. So just how to manage all of these different components that go into the series, it's a really great challenge. And because of that, I often need to rewrite and reorganize the chapters of each of the books I've done for the Samuel Creed series. Ultimately, after 3 or 4 rewrites, I finally finished the first act of the book, which is like Eve's chapters largely. Because basically what I wound up doing is Eve, her storyline kind of ends at the end of Act 1, and then you don't meet her again until Act 3, when Samuel Creed, the protagonist, goes to Nigeria to have this showdown with the antagonist and try to rescue the kidnapped girls. That happens in Act 3. In November, I wrote Act 2. I don't want to get into what happens in Act 2 because that's kind of spoilery and it's not really important. But long story short, in November, I wrote all of Act 2. It wasn't too bad either. It all came out pretty easily. I didn't have to rewrite it significantly or anything because I had fewer characters to talk about. Finally, Act 3. This is the act I was really dreading getting, and it is why the first draft of the book was only 56,000 words. Because in the first draft, when I wrote this, I didn't really know what would happen for this showdown, where Samuel Creed goes to Nigeria and how he battles the antagonist. Because I wanted it to be cat and mouse games between them. I wanted them always to try to get the advantage over the other, and I wanted the antagonist to be real smart and always outsmarting Samuel Creed and his team. So how would I present all that? I did not know. I had some ideas, but really I didn't know. And what was kind of funny, all of the ideas I had for things that happened between Samuel Creed and the antagonist, I actually wound up putting in Act 1 of the book. So when I finally got to Act 3, all the things I had planned for what Sam does already occurred earlier in the book. So I really had no clue what happens. But in all of December, I just worked on it and tried to outline it and rewrote it as I went and everything. Same thing as I did with Act 1. And ultimately, I finally finished it last night. There is a lot I could talk about the work I did on it. I mean, very significant changes I made to the book from what I planned versus what I wound up doing. And I would like to talk about it, but really it's not so much relevant here. This is just a writing update video. This is not like a tell-all behind the scenes thing where I just tell everything like special features of a DVD, doing auto commentary of the whole thing. So, just as a writing update video, basically in December, I finally wrote Act 3, the showdown between Samuel Creed and the antagonist, and I finished it. And then I also wrote the conclusion of the book, the resolution, which did change significantly. I had an idea what to do, and for the whole time working on the series, I had the idea of how I would finish this book. I pretty much knew what I wanted to do. But when I finally got there where it's like, okay, time to start wrapping things up, I thought of a different way to do it. And really, right away, everything clicked into place. I knew this new, different ending would be so much better than the one I had come up with before. So, I don't want to go into it, but I was really happy with the new ending because it's just such a better story. It has a much better ending and the message is a lot better. A lot of the tension that I was going to create in Act 4, the resolution, it would have felt forced. And the way I have it now, it's just so much better. So I'm really glad I realized this change to make about the resolution of the book. So anyway, I finally finished it. The final word count for the whole draft was 138,000 words. My target was 126,000. At this point, I'm not too concerned about word counts because the most important thing is just to tell the story. It doesn't matter how many words it is. Just tell the whole story and tell it right. That is far more important than just hitting a certain word count goal. Also, there is a lot of changes I could make. This was only the second draft, so certain things may get cut, certain things may get added. Between them, I think I'll actually have to add to it because there are storylines that I had in the book that I definitely want to have in the book, but I didn't quite tie up or have resolutions for. They just kind of never got mentioned again, and they are definitely storylines I want to address. So when it comes to the third draft, I will definitely want to add those and make sure I have every storyline pay off. So I think I might actually end up adding to the word count in the end, but I don't know, because there's always editing to do and revising and getting rid of unnecessary words, unnecessary scenes, storylines that never paid off or just aren't really important or crucial to the story. So I don't know. Like I say, I'm not too concerned about word count. It'll be whatever it'll be. But I do kind of want it to be in the range of like 125,000 to like a max of 150,000. I kind of want the book to be about that size. I'd like them to be about the same size books. So this isn't a series I want to be like 100,000 words or 200,000 words. I like about 125 to 150,000 words. 130,000 words though is about perfect. So anyway, I'm sorry about talking about all these word counts, but that's just something writers, I think, tend to obsess about. And the reason is I think because the word counts just shows us the progress we made. So when we say like 100,000 words, 125,000 words, 150,000 words, we're talking about whether it's a 300-page book or a 400 or 500-page book. It makes a lot of difference. So it's just something that writers care about. Others may not, and I know some writers don't care about it, but anyway. I think it's a pretty good benchmark just to kind of be proud of yourself to know like, hey, I hit the 125,000 word mark. But ultimately, you have to know the most important thing is to tell a good story. It doesn't matter the word count. It could be 125,000 words of garbage when it should be 80,000 words. So ultimately, word counts don't really matter except for like the writer's ego, but it is something we think about. So just so long as we don't let it become the main priority is to hit a certain word count. That's not what you should do. You should stick to telling a good story, making sure all the storylines pay off, all the characters are important, all the words that you have are necessary. So now that that is done, I turn to which book I want to work on next. There are two main options. There's either Keeping Tessa, which is the fourth book of the Samuel Creed series. That would be the first draft. Or I would do the second draft of Ottoman Destiny, which is the fourth book as well in the Trevor Knight series. So I don't know which one I will do, but what I will probably do is wait till New Year's, which is about 3 days away or so, and rest, recuperate, regain my energy, and then decide at the start of the new year which new book I may want to work on, or which project I want to do. It would probably, though, be either Keeping Tessa or Ottoman Destiny. The main reason for doing Ottoman Destiny is I am a little bit burned out on the Samuel Creed series since I just worked for 5 months on Keeping Fire. I would kind of like a little bit of a change. Also, Keeping Tessa is not a book I plan to publish for like 6 or 7 books I need to get done first. So I don't really need to work on it urgently now. Whereas Ottoman Destiny is the next book I plan to publish, and currently it's only done with the first draft. So I should probably prioritize Ottoman Destiny. One thing about it, or a couple things about it, Ottoman Destiny is actually like 240,000 words. It's a really long book. That was the first draft, 240,000 words or thereabouts. Huge book. Actually, that book I think is in pretty good shape, so there's not too much I would really have to do in terms of like rewriting or revising. for that book, I think I mostly just need to edit it, which is personally my favorite thing to do. What I might end up doing, since Autumn and Destiny is such a long book, each act is really like 700 or 75,000 words or so, 50 or 75,000 words. That is pretty long. I mean, each act of that book is almost like a novel in its own right. What I might do is I might edit or do the second draft of Act 1 of Autumn and Destiny, and then I may switch books. But for now, the plan is to take a few days off, recuperate. I worked 5 months on Keeping Fire. This was actually a real difficult book to figure out. Some books are real easy to write and they come out pretty well. Keeping Fire was definitely a book where I had to struggle with it. It was really difficult to write. The first draft writing only 56,000 words and the second draft taking 5 months to do. It's just a real difficult book for me to figure out, but I am finally happy with it. I finally feel I have a full book where most of it is right. There are things that I will need to change, things I'll need to revise, storylines I'll need to polish and finish out and stuff. So it's not like I'm completely to the editing phase. I will need to revise the book some, but as where I stood when I began the book with the second draft to where it is now, it is tremendous progress. The first draft was really just a concept. Something else I want to mention is that of the first draft of Keeping Fire, 56,000 words, 25,000 of them wound up being cut out. It wound up being on the cutting room floor. 25,000 words just completely gone from the book in no way, shape, or form. I didn't work them into the story at all. So started with 56,000 words and basically almost half of that got cut completely. So you can see that naturally the second draft was quite different than what I planned to do, but I think it's really well done in the end. I'm really happy with the result, the outcome in the end. So I'm feeling pretty good about Keeping Fire now. When I began, I didn't quite know what to do with this book. I struggled with it. I wrestled with it for years, really. But it's finally in a position now where I think it's really manageable working on it. I just need to do some minor revisions for it and then just edit, and then I could publish it. So I feel real good about the work I made on Keeping Fire. And ultimately, I think that is the most important thing. Some books you really struggled with, but in the end, do you feel happy about the book? Do you feel proud of it? Do you think it's a pretty good book overall? When I started, no. Keeping Fire was troublesome. I almost kind of wish I could get rid of it. But now, it's finally a story that I feel confident in sharing. So I'm really happy how it turned out. And it's just, again, you just have to put the work in. So 5 months for this draft alone, but I finally got it to a position where I'm happy with it. But that is not the end. I still need to revise and edit. And anyway, by that time, the book should be even in a better shape. So that is all. That's all I wanted to say. I'm sorry this video still wound up being longer than I wanted it to be. I'm just fortunate I didn't talk about all the changes I made to Act 4, because that would have made this an hour-long video, and no one would want that. So anyway, that is it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!